Due to some sexual content, parental discretion is advised.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to another installment of What's Your Favorite Movie? Everybody's favorite movie podcast that the world can't stop talking about. This is the podcast about film fandom, our favorite movies, and why we love them so much. My name is Ed South, and I would like to thank you for taking your precious time and investing it in our little dog and pony show here called What's Your Favorite Movie? You can follow our show on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. If you would like additional information, photographic imagery, etc., of the motion pictures that we discuss on today's show and other random things that we might bring up. My guest today is one of my dearest, oldest friends. So dear, don't say so old. That she's here for a return appearance. It's Diana. Welcome back to the What's Your Favorite Movie Studios, Diana.
Thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here
I appreciate you wading your way through the toys all over the floor to come to the studio. We are going to talk about Netflix today, some Netflix movies. I know that's a terribly unoriginal idea for an episode name, or for an episode. But Netflix is kind of like America's video store, wouldn't you say? It
is, and I think there's a lot of stuff floating around out there that people don't necessarily realize because of, the interface and the way that, like, it presents, options to you. There's stuff hiding in there that you maybe don't know is there. Stuff hiding,
because what Netflix does, for the most part, is gives you what it thinks you want to watch. Right. And if you watch, say you watch a movie about dancing, for the next 6 months, you're just going to get recommendations of dancing movies.
Exactly.
So if you dig a little deeper, you'll find some other stuff. So we picked out some movies that we both enjoy and we'll talk about in a few minutes. And these are films that probably, if you have access to Netflix, which most of us do, you'll be able to watch. But we'll get into that in just a few minutes. And there's a reason why we came to Netflix, and we'll obviously bring that up too as well. But we have some other business to take care of at the moment. And if I had money, we'd have a little cue that went, other business. Dinah, let's talk about the EMOJI Movie for a minute.
Oh, can we?
Are you familiar with the EMOJI Movie at all?
I'm familiar with it. Unfortunately, I don't really have any input here. I haven't seen it, so...
Is that unfortunate?
Well, unfortunate for this little segment because I have no input, but...
The EMOJI Movie is a new animated film that just came out about the little emojis that live in your phone and their life, and it presents a world upon which they live. And the internet is really, really, really dumping on this film. Now, I didn't love it. It's not fantastic. It's not great. But it wasn't horrible. I thought it was cute. I laughed a few times. My daughter, who's 4, and has very, very high discerning taste in films, like the Barbie catalog, she loved it. And then my 2 boys, who are 11 and 13, thought it was god-awful miserable. But I think they had a lot of influence from the internet. The internet is just dumping on this movie, and it is not that bad. It's a cute... I thought it was cute. Doing a movie, I think people are just infuriated with, like, you're gonna make a movie about little smiley faces from your phone or whatever, and it's not just the smiley face. The hand is in there, and the poop, and played by Patrick Stewart, and all the.
It's a fairly weak premise.
But it's no different. I mean, I'm not going to say the execution is the same, but it's no different than, like, let's explore the world of monsters, or how do bugs live, and stuff like that. It's the same idea. Obviously, exactly. Monsters, Inc. and A Bug's Life and even Ants are so far better than the Emoji Movie, but it's not that horrible. I don't think so. I just think people are really dumping on it, and if your kids want to go see it, if you go in with low expectations, I think you'll have a fun time. I go see a lot of animated films, not only because I have little kids, but because I enjoy animated films. So here is a list of 7 animated films from the 2001 that I have seen that I thought were way less enjoyable than the Emoji Movie. And these will be controversial choices, but I'm sticking to them. How to Train Your Dragon, which I know people love. Did you see it?
I did see it. I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't great, but I enjoyed it.
I thought it was miserable. And it was the last movie that my mother saw in the theater, and I feel bad that that's her legacy to take to her grave.
That is kind of
As
sad.
a lifelong film fan, that was the last movie she got to see in the theater. Despicable Me 2, horrible.
I haven't seen it.
I'd rather be punched in the face than watch it again, and I would honestly rather scrape my eyeballs out with a grapefruit spoon than see Despicable Me 3. I will never watch that. Hotel Transylvania, again, another hugely popular film I found to be absolutely miserable to watch. The Lorax is a big steaming pile of garbage that spits on Dr. Seuss's grave and then rolls around in it for a half hour. Very controversial choice. I hate to go against Pixar because I loves me some Pixar, but The Good Dinosaur was a bad dinosaur.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly. That was not an enjoyable film. Minions. Do I need to... I think I've already gone over my hatred. We talked about it last time.
Yeah.
Just enough with the Minions.
Yeah.
And Mr. Peabody and Sherman. I was really disappointed by that movie. That was a horrible, horrible movie. So if you liked any of those movies, you should like the Emoji Movie, is my opinion. Moving on. I needed to spend 3 minutes talking about the Emoji Movie.
You have strong feelings about it. I understand.
Sir Patrick Stewart is a poop. All right? Diana, are you ready for this? We got some emails.
Sweet.
We got some letters.
All right.
And our mailbag. Again, we don't have a mailbag theme song, but we got 2 emails in our email account. Dusted off the virtual cobwebs. So we would like to say a shout out to Scott from Indiana who's listening. And he said he would like more with producer Brian. So we'll have to try to get producer Brian back on because he's got a fan base. Scott in Indiana.
Sorry to disappoint you, Scott, that I'm here, not producer Brian, but...
We can call you producer Diana if that makes things easier.
That's all right.
Wait, your boyfriend's from Indiana, isn't he?
He is.
Oh, there you go. There's the connection. It's the circle of life. All right. And then we got an email. I'm going to take it. It's from my brother-in-law, Mike, who's already been on the show. But it's an email, right? And he says, last time we talked about the Cars. Are they born in a hospital or are they manufactured? And he said... and he sent this in email form, so I'm using it in the mailbag section. I've heard a theory that the cars in Pixar's Cars take on the personality of their last owner. That's not creepy.
Nope, not at all.
And I'm sure you're familiar with the overall Pixar theory that suggests all the movies are connected and the cars have become autonomous. Is that creepy? That's less creepy than just taking on the... That means like they're all like ghosts, then they're like ghost cars. They're like Casper. Casper cars. Casper cars. So there, I don't subscribe to any fan theory whatsoever. I don't believe in fan theories.
Don't believe in them.
I don't believe them. What's in the movie is in the movie, and that's all.
No room for interpretation whatsoever.
Exactly. But it also got me to thinking, what about the Transformers? Are they manufactured? Are they born in some kind of Transformer hospital? Are they born in the same hospital as the Cars, maybe?
Are there girl Transformers?
That's right. Are there girl Transformers? Because there are girl Cars. Are there girl Transformers? You would have no idea. That's a question for producer Brian or anyone. Please email us at favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com with your favorite girl Transformer. And of course, it would have to be a feminine name. It wouldn't just be like, Rexicon Optimi or whatever. It would be like... Shirleytron or something like that. Dianabot 6000. So that's the mailbag. We hope you enjoyed that. And of course, keep the letters coming. All 2 of them. To favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com. You can hit us up on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. Everywhere that other people pay attention to things, but not this show particularly. But that's where you can find us. Diana, are you ready for a quick segment of everyone's favorite segment? Let's enjoy a beverage.
Oh, yes.
Today's Let's Enjoy a Beverage. I try to kind of like theme it to movies or what we're talking about. But when you find Dinah's looking at the bottle over here in horror as what is this? Because I have the label turned around. But Diana, on today's show, we are going to try a delicious bottle of Fidel Castro's Havana Banana. Fidel Castro's Havana Banana. Taste the revolution.
So what was the inspiration behind choosing this?
I like bananas.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what flavor that might be from the color because, at first I saw it and I was like, is that orange? No, it's more, urine colored.
The fresh taste of Fidel Castro's urine. It kind of looks like a beer a little. Is it too yellow to be a beer?
It's too yellow, yeah.
It's too yellow to be a beer. We'll post a picture of Fidel Castro's Taste the Revolution, Havana Banana. But I do love banana-flavored things, don't you?
Banana is one of those flavors that's very difficult to replicate artificially. And when it's artificial, it tastes really artificial. So
let's pop open Fidel's piss here and see what we got. Let's try it out. We'll pour a nice...
that is yellow.
Oh, when you pour it, it gets even more yellow, doesn't it?
That is super yellow.
Yellower. Here, hold your cup up there. What's your favorite movie chalice up? And oh my gosh, it smells like a banana factory in here now. A banana factory where they make bananas.
It smells really artificial.
It smells... Oh, I'm going to love this. It smells like those circus peanuts, which I'm the only person in the world that loves circus peanuts. Go ahead. Oh, you're getting the bouquet, and now the sip. That tastes like...
It tastes like dirt.
Yeah, it tastes like... Maybe it tastes like Cuba.
Maybe it does. No, it
has an aftertaste.
It has a really strange, like, earthy taste to it.
It's Cuba. It tastes like Cuba. I think that's where the name comes from.
I swear to God, it tastes like the smell of a hardware store. How did you describe the smell of walking into like Heckinger's?
It smells like you're being gang raped by a 2x4 and a bag of peat moss.
Exactly. That's what this tastes like.
Fidel Castro's Havana Banana. It's like getting gang raped by a 2x4 and a bag of peat moss.
Maybe we want to cut that.
Nope. That's comedy gold right there.
Okay.
And that is made by the Rocket Fizz company that we've already talked about before, so I won't go into their history. They had a couple of other dictator-based sodas as well. They did. They do. So look that up. We'll post all that on Twitter. Delicious.
Well,
Cuba.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't recommend this.
While you're sitting down with a big bowl of circus peanuts.
It smells better than it tastes, honestly. And like I said, I mean, artificial banana is not one of my favorite flavors.
I would imagine if you went into a movie theater in the dark and ate a bag of circus peanuts and drank a bottle or a big cup of this, you would come out tinted orange or yellow.
Maybe.
Now, the problem with drinking soda on the show is that I have to burp constantly, which is not a good thing for radio entertainment. Diana. By the way, folks, that was Let's Enjoy a Beverage. Some quick movie news for you that I heard on another podcast, on Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast. He was interviewing Bobcat Goldthwait.
Okay.
If I were to ask you what's your favorite Bobcat Goldthwait film, you might say, off the top of your head...
I might say One Crazy Summer.
That's what I thought you would say. He hinted that a One Crazy Summer follow-up is in the works with Savage Steve Holland.
Oh, my goodness.
Him and Savage Steve Holland, the director of Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer, which we've talked about on this show before, in our Christmas episode, are buddies, and they have tossed this idea around, and Bobcat has not acted in a while, but said this is the one project he would get back in front of the camera for, to do One Crazy Summer 2. So let's see if it happens. Hopefully they don't call it One Crazy Summer 2, but it will be something like... later.
I mean, there's really nothing about that particular storyline that needs to be,
but
continued.
It could be fun. It could be fun.
But I would be interested in seeing what Savage Steve Holland would do now.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time. So maybe we'll get One Crazy Summer 2 one day, but I knew you would find that interesting.
That is interesting.
So what brought us to talk about Netflix, first of all, was a conversation Diane and I had off air in the lounge, in the What's Your Favorite Movie Studio lounge, a conversation we had off air about the Netflix series The Keepers, which is not a movie. It's a series. It's a Netflix series, although I think it would have been better suited as a maybe 2-hour movie instead of a 7-hour plus multi-part documentary. But they're obviously trying to go after the Serial, is that the name of that podcast? Serial, and other serialized true life crime dramas.
Making a Murderer,
right?
etc.
Making a Murderer was the one I was thinking of. Right. So this is in that vein. It's it's 7 parts.
Right.
It's on Netflix, and it's about. Would you like to? I didn't watch the whole thing. I still haven't gotten through it. It's very graphic verbally. So it's hard once summer hit to watch that with the little kids running around the house, but. Go ahead.
Right. So it's of local interest to us because we grew up in the Baltimore area. It's about a Baltimore area nun who was teaching at a girls' high school.
Well, obviously, I guess a Catholic high school.
Right, Catholic high school. I mean, actually, when she disappeared, she had switched to, she was teaching in a public school, but for, several years before that.
A parochial school? No.
No, she was in a public school when she disappeared. But prior to that, she had been at the girls' Catholic high school, Archbishop Keogh. She disappeared. They found her 2 months later, murdered. And this 7-part series, if you don't know already, is about this investigation into her disappearance and death, and the possible connection between that and what turned out to be this horrible abuse that was going on at the school. The priest who was the chaplain at Archbishop Keogh was forcing girls to have sex with him and lots of other people. So, and
we're certainly not making light of the subject matter whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible story. It's disturbing beyond all belief.
Yes.
And what got Diane and I talking about it was, so I saw the trailer for it, the commercial, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting, because Diane and I both grew up in the Catholic, not only in the Catholic school system, but the Baltimore Archdiocese, the area where this show, I don't want to say takes place, but where this whole crime happened, and the whole world of this show is in the Baltimore Archdiocese where we grew up. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, this is creepy, because like I grew up in these settings. I mean, I didn't go to the all-girls school, obviously, but I grew up in these settings, and it's all so familiar, and the school even looks the same as the high school I went to. So I'm talking to Diana about it. I'm like, you should watch this, blah, blah, blah. And then Diana reminds me, she went to that high school where it happened.
I did, in fact. Now, obviously, I was there many years after, the events depicted in this series. But it was really weird for me to watch the whole thing, and, the pictures of the school and some of the staff people who were still there when I was going to school there.
So the story starts in the late 60s, right, in the show? Correct. And then we went to high school in the late 80s, so we started in the late 80s, so not even 20 years later, but but like the school, and I don't know if they shot it in Seton Keogh at all, or
no, there was nothing filmed inside the school that I could see. There were some pictures, some still photos of inside of the school.
Because when they would show, and you're going to say, well, every high school looks the same, but Catholic school, poor private schools do not look the same as other high schools. Those shots of like the hallway, which I assumed were reenacted and not filmed at Keogh or whatever, but they looked just like my high school that I went to. I went to a co-ed Catholic high school, and they just looked the same. So it was just creepy, and the rooms looked the same, and of course the uniforms were very similar. So most of the abuse, that at least that I've seen so far in the episodes that I've watched, takes place in one particular room of the school. So of course my first question is like, Diana, were you ever in that room?
And in fact, I was in that room. And of course, at the time, it occurred to me when I was there. I was like, this is such a weird room, because basically they were using it as sort of like a conference room.
In the show, or in the story, it's hard to. It's not a show. It's not a movie. It's not fiction. It's real life. But I'm watching it as a show, of course. In the events, the priest's office is where all the bad stuff was going down.
Most of it, yeah. The chaplain's office was, he would call girls into his office and make them do horrible things.
Horrible things.
Yep.
And the first episode is a little dry. It's like an overview of the whole story and kind of hints at where we're going to go. And then the second episode starts to get rolling, and I was kind of tuning out. Like, it wasn't extremely compelling, and then all of a sudden somebody, just out of nowhere, the abuse starts, and she's like, and then blah blah blah, and I'm like, whoa what because I didn't know, I thought it was about a murder. So then I rewind and like, holy crap, and then then you get sucked in pretty hard. As horrible as that is to say, I guess, but it's very compelling, because it's not just like, oh, he touched them and whatever. It's horrible, horrible stuff.
It is compelling. Unfortunately, as you already said, I think it goes on a little too long. It's kind of unfocused. It meanders around a bit. And at the end of the day, I don't feel convinced that, there was really a connection between, the nun's murder and the abuse that was happening. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't, but I don't know that they really presented, good evidence of that. It probably could have been pared down quite a bit.
Right.
But still, I mean, again, it was of, personal interest to me having gone to that school. Yeah.
So you were in the room where it happened. You said it was a conference room, but nobody molested you.
No, nobody molested me.
I'm sorry, Diana.
I had no idea, when I was going to school there, I had no idea that there had been, this history of, these things happening at this school. It wasn't until after I was already gone from that school that even, in the mid-90s when the lawsuits started happening.
Right.
These former students sued the Archdiocese of Baltimore. It was thrown out of court, so nothing happened there. But
the thing that really was creepy and made my blood curl, right? Is that what blood does? Curl?
Curdle.
Curdle.
Yeah. Yes.
That too.
That too.
Mine does both, Diana.
Awesome.
I go both ways. There's a scene where the girl says she was sitting in classroom and the priest and she got called down to the priest's room.
Right.
And everybody knew what was going to happen, but nobody could say anything because it's just the power of the priest and whatever. And I just remember so many times in school, and I never witnessed anything sexual. I never witnessed anything sexual in high school in any form of my life whatsoever. But I never witnessed any abuse or anything sexual. But I remember so many times in school, and not just in school, but in life in general, where adults use their power over children to keep things quiet or do things that are way, way, way inappropriate. And I think kids are a lot more in tune to that now, and people are a lot more scared. But I mean, I got paddled by our principal in the 3rd grade, which I believe was a known thing and was allowed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But there was a lot of power plays where teachers would threaten people and say horrible things or stuff like that you knew. I felt all that pressure of, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble, when in actuality, the adult would have been in trouble, but nobody said anything.
Yeah, I mean, when we were going to Catholic school as kids, there was sort of this, unspoken agreement, between our parents and our teachers that basically while we were in school, our teachers could do whatever they wanted to do to us. Right. They could, humiliate us in front of the class.
Happened.
They could make us, stand with our nose against the chalkboard for hours if they wanted to.
Happened.
They could do anything they wanted to us, and we knew it, and our parents knew it, and everyone was okay with it. And of course, now in this day and age, that stuff wouldn't fly.
Which is good, yeah.
It is good. But it's hard for people who didn't go through something like that. I mean, again, we weren't physically abused necessarily. Right. We were certainly, verbally abused by our teachers. We were made to feel like idiots. They liked that.
Wasn't hard for my teachers to make me feel like an idiot,
but it's hard for people who didn't go through that to understand why you would keep secrets about being abused by your teachers. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely this whole power thing going on. I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore.
That is true. And I'm glad I have kids. I hope they don't have to go through it. And I tell them all the time, I will never side with the teacher if just for the sake of it. I will always, whatever, if a teacher lays a finger on you, there's trouble. So that's The Keepers. It's on Netflix. It's 7 parts. It's they're all about an hour. Yeah. Some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit less, but I think the last one's a little bit like an hour and a half, whatever, who cares? But it's on Netflix, so it's a horrible thing that happened, and it's now entertainment for the masses. So we got talking let's talk about some other stuff on Netflix, because again, you guys out there can find this stuff easily. And we won't dwindle on it for very long, but dwell on it. Yeah. Man, my vocabulary is horrible today. My teachers really were right. I'm an idiot.
You should have been paddled more.
You finish the rest of the show. I'm going to go stand over here and put my nose against the wall for the remaining 20 minutes. One movie that Diane and I both love dearly, 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 and many of you have probably seen it, is Adventures in Babysitting, and that is out on Netflix now. And
it is currently available in the Netflix streaming archives. It is categorized as a cult movie.
Yes. So even though I said you all have probably seen it, it's somehow a cult movie. But there's Diane and I have talked about it before. Neither of us can put a finger on it exactly why we love that movie. It's just
so much fun.
It's just so much fun. We saw it at the right time when we were kids. Yep. That's a lot of what this show is about. And so it's one of those things that like it never pops, even though it's my favorite movie, I never see it presented to me on Netflix. Right. Only when I dig do I see it. Exactly. So it's weird. So I said to Diana, is that enough about Adventures in Babysitting? I think so.
Just, you should watch it if you haven't seen it, because it's really funny. If
you haven't seen it in a while, you should revisit it. Not everybody can say they read the novelization of it when they were a kid, but I certainly can, because my parents never took me to the movie, so that was my way of... I got the book from the Scholastic Book Club and tore through it. That's good stuff. And I always remember in the movie of Adventures in Babysitting, a Playboy magazine kind of plays a prominent role in driving the story. You never really see much of anything, but in the book, it's just a magazine, so it makes zero sense whatsoever. And while we're on the subject, we'll address the terrible remake they did last summer, where the Playboy magazine was replaced by a purple... raccoon or something I know that was the driving force that took the place of the Playboy magazine.
Yeah, why not?
Remake, horrible, 1987, Elizabeth Shue, my dear sweet Elizabeth Shue. Who else is in that? Keith Coogan,
right?
A young Penelope Ann Miller,
yep.
A young Vincent D'Onofrio,
yep.
Anyone else?
Anthony Rapp, who is mostly known on Broadway. Maya Bruton, who did some bad 80s television and then dropped off the face of the earth.
And the guy from The West Wing, Chris.
Right, and...
what's his name?
Yeah, what's his name?
Bradley
Whitford.
Bradley Whitford is the creepy boyfriend, who's way older than her visibly in the movie, but he's supposed to be in high school, I guess.
Right.
And then he drives a car like only a lawyer could afford, but yep. I guess he was the rich dude.
Yep.
And what's the song in the beginning of that movie? And then he kissed me.
Yep.
Which is officially the Adventures in Babysitting song. Good stuff.
Which, honestly, to this day, every time I see that opening with the touch-tone pictures, in my head, I hear that song starting. Yep.
I love when the opening song starts over the studio, the studio logo. So I says to Diana, why don't we look through the Netflix archives and dig out a few titles to, whatever. Maybe we can even watch the same movie before going into the show, which doesn't happen all that often anymore. So I came up with a list of movies. Diana came up with a list of movies. And so one that Diana pointed out was a movie called Laura from 1944, which, of course, my first instinct was, but...
Was it really?
No, actually not. I was like, I would watch that. First of all, it's only 88 minutes, so thank you for that. I enjoy a good...
Oh, my pleasure.
I enjoy a good 88-minute runtime. So this is a 1944 film. Would we say this is film noir?
It is. It is most definitely film noir.
Most definitely film noir. I thought film noir meant very dark, and this is not a dark movie as far as... The physical lighting of the films are usually dark in film noir. But,
often, yeah.
But this was very well lit. And it is a murder mystery, so you're going to have to dig for this. It's not going to come up under recently added or trending or... Unless
you're in the habit of watching classic films, in which case it'll probably recommend it to you.
Right next to...
But yeah, it is categorized as a classic movie.
It is a classic. 1944. It was nominated for Best Picture, I believe. It did not win.
Yeah.
But...
It's a strange movie. I mean, I got to say that. It's hard for me to say that, it's an enjoyable movie. It
is. I thought so.
Parts of it are. For me, it's really, it's interesting to me because it's one of the films that David Lynch has been very influenced by. There's a lot of things in that he directly uses. I mean, the movie starts with a dead girl named Laura.
Oh, wow.
Look
at
that. The name Waldo Lydecker, he used both of those names in Twin Peaks.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. I was racking my brain last night because my son watched this with me. And I was like, that name is really ringing a bell, the Lydecker. And wherever I know it from, it's obviously got to be taken from this movie.
Right.
And it was racking my brain. It is one of the... It's in one of the episodes of Police Squad. That's the main, the villain's name in that episode, the guilty girl, Sally Lydecker, and they say it in every episode so that's where I got it. But obviously, it's taken from this.
Yeah, but it's interesting for me. Currently I'm working my way through the new Twin Peaks episodes, and it's interesting for me to watch this movie Laura, knowing that it's one of David Lynch's influences, just to see how it really does inform the way that he makes movies. Very
cool.
much so, yeah.
It stars Gene Tierney and Dana Andrews, who I, as most of you couldn't pick out of a lineup of people unless they were the only two black and white people and everybody else was in color. But I looked it up. Gene Tierney is 20. She plays Lara. Right. She's like 23, 24 when this was filmed. She has like the sophistication and the statute, maybe is what I'm looking for, or the bravado of like someone way older. Like, I mean, I'm thinking like a 24-year-old today could not even play that kind of a role. Like, just so sophisticated and so glamorous. And of course, that's what old movies are, glamorous and whatever. But just, it was enjoyable, Dan. I enjoyed it, and I really, I had to you have to pay attention because like every line is kind of important for the most part. And Vincent Price is in it. Yep. He's awesome in it. He's
mustacheless.
He's not. He's not Vincent Pricey in it. He's playing kind of like a rube almost, like a country bumpkin kind of character. But it's just really good. So that is a treat. If you have to be in the mood for an old movie. It's not something you're going to put on a Saturday afternoon with the kids running around the house or for family movie night. But it's a really good movie. Lara, 1944, Gene Tierney, Dana Andrews, directed by Otto Preminger, who went on to, I think most famously, direct Anatomy of a Murder.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I need to watch that. It's always been on my radar.
Too bad Netflix doesn't have it right now on streaming.
They will for a day or two, and then it'll be gone. So, I love things in old movies that just, like, stand out, just date the movie so bad. And in one part, in a flashback, Lara approaches this rich guy about endorsing. He's a writer, and she wants him to endorse these pens that she works for an ad agency. And he goes on this diatribe about pens, and he's like, I hate pens. And like, I guess pens were kind of newish at that point in time to have that strong of a passionately hatred. Like who even the grumpiest of grumpy people today doesn't care if you get him a pen, or most people would probably hate pencils. Or I use a goose-quilled feather. I hate pens. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean the best lines in the movie come from this character of that's Waldo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my one note I took during the movie. I hate pens. So Diane and I exchanged a handful of movie titles. So she said Lara, so I was trying to match something of that quality, of something similar to that, and I offered up the 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is a great science fiction film. I saw it on the big screen the first time I saw it. It was really awesome. But instead of taking that one to roll with so that we would have two classic films, Diana chose my crap ball that I tossed out as another movie, again, that I didn't know was on Netflix. And as I was scrolling, I was like, oh my God, I love that movie, which I might have been a little quick to jump on. I love that movie, but 1994's My Father the Hero. Pause for Diana to shiver.
Oh.
So you set me up. Like, I was going to talk about a real good classic science fiction
We still
movie.
can. It's not too late.
I didn't rewatch that, though, last night. I watched My Father the Hero last night at 12:30 in the morning. It's a remake of a French film from 1991, so only 3 years earlier. A French film called... You told me not to try to pronounce it. Do you want to pronounce it?
No, that's okay.
Mon père c'est héros.
It's My Father the Hero in French.
Mon père c'est héros. From 1991. So this stars Gerard Depardieu and a young Katherine Heigl.
The English one, not the French one.
Yes, right. The English, the English American Disney produced version.
Right.
Also in the cast, Lauren Hutton, who I love. She's always good, even though she's only in it for like 2 minutes. And Stephen Tobolowsky. Everyone likes that. I believe that's one of our lists that we will have to say, "Oh, I love Stephen Tobolowsky." Right?
Yeah, he's good. He's funny.
He's good at it.
It's too bad that he, deigned to appear in this awful, awful movie.
So this movie is about Gerard Depardieu is the father, and he hasn't seen his daughter, Katherine Heigl, in many years. They have a strained relationship, but he's apparently, they don't even explain it really, but he's taking her on vacation to the Bahamas for a week at some fancy resort or whatever. So, for reasons not ever made abundantly clear, she decides that she's going to lie to this boy to impress him at the resort by saying that her father is actually her lover. So then it starts this chain of hijinks where the entire resort thinks that he's some dirty old man sleeping with this very young 14-year-old girl. and then the comedy begins. So, no.
There's nothing funny about any of it. I mean, it's so, the premise is so icky, and the execution is also icky. I mean, Katherine Heigl is just like this horrible, snitty teenager. She's terrible to watch. Gerard Depardieu, appears in every scene in this just awful, ill-fitting outfit.
Circus tents.
Yeah. And then there are all these pedophile jokes that aren't funny at all. They're not.
I mean, no one is a pedophile, so can it be funny?
No, it's not. There's nothing funny about it. I'm sorry. I tried. I tried. I sat through the movie trying to find some redeeming qualities there. I was like, okay, surely there's got to be some part of this that at least gets a chuckle. No, I didn't chuckle at all. It's
not even
so
when
bad.
He sings a song. Don't give the joke away, but he gets up and sings a song at a talent night, and the lyrics are taken out of context, are completely inappropriate, and it's kind of funny.
It's not kind of funny.
Okay,
it's really bad.
When I was watching it last night, I was like, okay, this isn't quite as great as I remember it. And then it goes on, and then when the whole resort thinks that he's a perv, and just some of the funny. Some of like the one-liners and like the little throwaways where people walk by and see something and misunderstand it. It's a comedy of errors, Diana. It's a sexual farce with a 14-year-old at the center.
That's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, she really is, a young teenager when she filmed this,
right.
And they're making all of these, sexually charged comments about this young teenager. It's icky. It's icky. It is.
I was thinking maybe some of the sexual overtones don't translate as well from French to English because they have different morals about sex, right? I mean, they do. They're a little more looser and I don't know. I've never been to France.
I don't know, but
this was directed by. Wow, good job, Ed. I wrote directed by Steve. I forgot to write his last name down. Luckily, I know it's Steve Miner, who directed, of note, the Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3.
Nice.
Another wildly inappropriate movie, Soul Man. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Which I don't even think you can show on TV anymore. No. Which is about a white kid, which is about C. Thomas Howell, who goes blackface to get into like an all-black college. For laughs, I don't think there's any social note, a story there. It's just wildly inappropriate. He also directed Big Bully, which was Rick Moranis' last on-screen appearance. Rest in peace. He's not dead, but rest in peace nonetheless. He directed the 2008 Jessica Simpson Steve Guttenberg film Private Valentine, Blonde and Dangerous.
I'm so sorry, I missed that.
And then he directed, why he's on my radar, one of my very favorite top 10 films of all time, Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. Aww, what a nice little G-rated movie about horse diving.
Yeah.
Another slightly inappropriate subject, but no one's going to get worked up over horse diving. But, and then real quick, let's just talk about Gerard Depardieu and why was he a thing for 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. But he was a thing for a few minutes there.
In 1990, he did Green Card. He was a big thing in France. And then, of course, everybody, let's try to make him big in America. So they do this film, Green Card, which centers around him being French and from out of the country. And I would imagine needing a green card, starring Andie MacDowell. And then he plays Columbus in 1492, a few years later, during the big, let's make a lot of movies about Columbus and release them all at the same time. And then he does a movie called Bogus. Are you familiar with Bogus?
I don't know this movie.
Here's the IMDb description that I had to write down word for word for Bogus, because this is a real movie that actually happened. A recently orphaned young boy is taken in by his godmother, played by Whoopi Goldberg, who is shocked to realize that she can see the boy's imaginary friend, a flamboyant French magician named Bogus. I can't recommend Bogus because I've never seen it, but I would also at the same time fully recommend it.
It certainly sounds like the type of movie that you would watch.
That's also another little burst we had of imaginary friend movies. There's Drop Dead Fred,
right.
And then there's a really obscure one called Deo, starring Delta Burke. Good luck finding that one if you're not searching through my videotapes upstairs. Let's race through some other faves that we found on Netflix real quick. We'll just touch upon them. Of course, we said the 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still, black and white, like super. You've seen it?
I have seen it.
Super thoughtful. It's like really good science fiction, but also very good like humanitarian message, and it's really good.
Yeah, I mean it's a little dated now, but the whole extreme xenophobia and warmongering, etc., certainly still relevant in our current political climate.
Yay.
So
There you go. Yes, so you have to dig for that one. The Day the Earth Stood Still. And then what's this movie you said? The Babadook?
Oh, yeah. If you're looking for a scary movie, that one's good. It's weirdly been turned into a queer meme on the internet, where supposedly the Babadook figure is a gay man.
In the movie, he is.
No, he's not.
So he's like a monster kind of thing. And he kills people.
Well, no, he's not killing anyone, but it's a good scary movie, but not gruesome or anything.
I will tell you, horror movie. Of course, I'm almost all out. Like whatever. A horror movie called The Babadook. I'm gonna pass. Like that just scares me already. I don't want to see it unless
It's unnerving. It's a creepy movie.
I don't like unnerving.
It's not gruesome or anything.
I don't like unnerving movies. I do like movies about jokes about fathers sleeping with their daughters, but not a creature living under your bed called the Babadook. If it was perhaps a sequel to Marmaduke, where Marmaduke met someone named Babadook, like they lived together, and the dog was voiced by another maybe. Also, I will just tell you right now, I know I'm a puss, I'm a wuss when it comes to horror movies. There is no way on God's green earth will I ever watch a not rated horror movie, because it will be unspeakable horrors that will never, ever leave my mind.
Very well then.
You also mentioned Kubo and the Two Strings, which just came out last year in theaters, and that's on DVD. And I'm very much in the minority. I don't get that movie.
I like it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the visualness of it.
It's stop motion, but they use a new process where they also used computers to manipulate the stop motion. So it is stop motion, but it's manipulated differently than by hand. They show it at the end of the movie. Did you watch the whole?
I didn't.
Oh, the credits show you how they did it. It's really cool. That was
maybe a little bit, yeah. But,
yeah.
But and I just think that the voice performances are really good from people that I don't usually enjoy. I mean, Matthew McConaughey. Sorry, not a fan, but I thought he was really good in this. So.
Who else? Any other celebrities in it?
Charlize Theron is in it.
All right.
I forget who else, but
isn't Sulu in it?
Oh, briefly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's always there. Sulu is with us all. So I will counteract your Kubo and the Two Strings, my animated pick also from 2016, and not as artsy or as whatever, but I found for my money a film called Ratchet and Clank. Was just like a good old-fashioned Saturday morning cartoon. It's based on a video game, but it's just like silly Saturday morning funny and like action, and it was just a cute meal. You would not enjoy it probably at all.
I don't know this movie.
Yeah, it's cute. It was just well done. It had its heart in the right place. It was funny. I laughed out loud several times. My kids loved it. So there's Ratchet and Clank. Also on Netflix, you can find. And then also, to point out, while we're talking about animated films, the entire Lilo and Stitch series, the film series is on Netflix, which consists of 4 films besides the original. Did you ever see Lilo and Stitch?
I saw the first one. I haven't seen beyond that.
Lilo and Stitch is a really, really, really good movie, one of Disney's better films. And they followed it up with 3 direct-to-DVD films, which are of much lesser quality, but I still think they're all cute and charming in their own way. Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. And then there's Stitch the Movie, which actually sets up the TV show that ran for a few years. And then the finale of the TV show is called Leroy and Stitch, which I also find entertaining as well. So if you got a Lilo and Stitch fan in your house, you might want to introduce them to the other 3 films in the series. And you can watch them in various orders because they take place chronologically different than they were produced. Does that make sense?
Sure.
The second film that was made takes place 3rd in the chronology. Then they made the second one. Then they made the 4th one last. I just confused the entire show.
Yep.
Documentary, you recommended Dear Zachary.
Oh, that's if you're in the mood for a good cry. It's awful. It's really awful.
What's it about? Who's Zachary?
It's basically the individual who made this movie. He's a filmmaker, and this was sort of a love letter to, if you will, to his good friend who was murdered, and to his friend's parents. And just talking about the circumstances around the murder, and there's a lot of. It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Let me put it that way.
That's why you watch it.
Well, it's really gut wrenching. So if you're in the mood for something like that, fire it up.
2008, Dear Zachary, under your documentary section of the Netflix,
right,
I would imagine.
Yeah, I was just trying to take pics from different areas, and
I love documentaries. Actually, you might find that hard to believe if you only know me through this show when I talk about crap like My Father, the Sex Hero, or whatever. But 2 documentaries on Netflix, real quick, that I enjoy: Jesus Camp from 2006. Which is about a summer camp where they send kids to become the next conservative political activists. Extremely fascinating, slightly disturbing, but extremely fascinating documentary. I also really, really enjoyed the film Blackfish from 2013.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that? Yeah, about Telecom.
Right.
He just died, I think, didn't he? Telecom.
Well, yeah, there have definitely been ramifications from.
This is about. He played Shamu, right? He was Shamu.
Right.
Shamu is not just one whale. It is many whales that live in all of our hearts. And Tilikum has a terrible, terrible story from his birth through the end of his days. But that's fascinating...
all of these whales in captivity have pretty horrible stories. And so, there's been, backlash after this movie was released. I mean, people started to really, question what was going on at SeaWorld and other places that have...
Their stocks have taken a dive, attendance has taken a dive, but this is a good movie. And I don't want to say I hate animals, but I hate animals. And, I just don't really care for animals. They have no respect for your eyes is my number one concern about animals. But... even though I like movies about animals where they talk or whatever, I generally do not have a whole lot of compassion for them. I don't beat them. I don't whatever. I eat them, but I don't beat them. I don't kick them. I don't yell at my dog or whatever. But this movie made me very, very sympathetic for the animals because it's just a terrible story. So that is Blackfish, 2013. 2 movies coming to Netflix that I wanted to point out to you if you're a listener of the show and you follow along so intently. In episode 13, my buddy Matt talked about a film called Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, which was kind of a obscure little Nicolas Cage film about arms deals and guns and things that I don't ever watch movies about. But that's from 2005. That is coming to Netflix in August of 2017. But then a movie that I love that I hope you'll get a chance to watch and everybody will watch is The Founder from 2016. And it stars Michael Keaton as Ray Kroc, who is... the founder of McDonald's, but you watch this film, and it's based on a true story, so you're going to assume most of what happened actually happened. Not really the founder of McDonald's. It's a really, really fascinating story, and I was just blown away with how they handled, because a lot of times, like a docudrama has a lot of backstory that it needs to get out, and they did it so well, and it just moves along, and it's just a super fascinating story. Personally, I'm a fan of McDonald's lore, so... it was already a win in a win for me, but it's just a really, really solid movie. Michael Keaton, Nick Offerman is in it from Parks and Rec, B.J. Novak, Laura Dern, who we were saying is always great, and we should just do a shout-out episode to Laura Dern. Really? Do I like her that much? I don't know. But... So, definitely check out The Founder. That's coming out on Netflix mid-August 2017. I also meant to say at the top of the show, but we'll say it at the bottom of the show, that Netflix is a living, breathing organism. Things come and things go. So if you're not listening to this right on top of August 2017, some of the stuff might be gone. Chances are some of it will definitely be gone. Things come and things go. They only contract movies for so long. So hopefully we steered you in the right direction and you'll find some films on your Netflix. Diana, we should wrap it up.
All right.
What do you think? How's that banana soda sitting with you? Good?
That's not passing my lips again. That's not good.
There it is. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us on another installment of What's Your Favorite Movie? America's favorite movie podcast recorded in this studio. You want to follow our show on Twitter at WYF Movie Podcast. Our email is favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com. You would be such a hero to me and my friend Diana and Catherine and 14-year-old Katherine Heigl if you would take a moment, rate this show on iTunes. Go type in what's your favorite movie in iTunes, rate it, give us a little review. We would appreciate it. Or subscribe is even better. It all helps the show so much. Diana, thank you for joining us once again at the luxurious, palatial What's Your Favorite Movie Studios.
Again, thank you for having me.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. Until next time, it's khaki wishes and cookie dreams.
I'll neither consider, endorse, or use the Wallace pen. I hate pens.